Welcome to the golf edition of Hooked on Sport. This is South Australia's Golf Wrap, where we uncover the stories, personalities and moments that define golf across South Australia and beyond. It's time to talk golf with sports commentator Ben Hook and state golf representative Sophie Hilditch.
Johnny Wallace, thank you. Hello, everyone. Really appreciate your company for another episode of Hooked on Sport. We are doing this across the globe today here. I am Ben Hook in Adelaide. My co-host across the other side of the world is Sophie Hilditch. Soph, hello. Where do we find you on this Monday afternoon Adelaide time?
I've just made it to Norway, Ben, so I'm very excited. Norway, it's 7:30 in the morning, and I think my favourite thing that you said to me already is, gee, Soph, you look like shit. Have you just woken up? And yeah, you're dead right. I have just woken up because the Norwegians are loving their FIFA World Cup, and I was up very late at a bar drinking on a big screen with a bunch of Norwegians watching the soccer.
Well, how did Norway go? Because I did notice that Japan and the Netherlands were playing, and I've spent some time in the Netherlands. I have a bit of a soft spot for the Dutch, but how are the Norwegians tracking in the World Cup?
Well, here's the thing, Ben. Norway weren't playing. They were just excited to see any footy. It was the Japanese game that I was watching.
So you've gone all the way to Norway to watch Japan play the Netherlands. There is some sort of crazy story in all of that.
Yeah, definitely. No, and it's all the commentation's all in Norwegian, and you can actually see the media room was behind us over the river, and we can see the three guys sitting there. And obviously, I have no idea what's going on and what they're saying, but it was brilliant. But I did love they have slushies here, and they think it's summertime, and it's about 15 degrees. I'm loving it.
I did watch the 2024 Olympics in the Netherlands, and trying to understand the Dutch commentary was quite the mystery. So at least you've got a scoreboard in soccer. It's pretty easy to determine what's going on just by looking at the numbers. So if that is a great story, but talking about great stories, I love to lean into your Sophie Star each week. Tell me who it is this time around.
Well, I've got to lead on with the FIFA World Cup fever. So I've got the Adelaide United player, Nestori Irakunda. He's the youngest player to ever score in the World Cup, and he hit it off. He's the 10th ever player as well. It was just an incredible goal, so exciting to see. And I actually loved seeing all the clips coming from back home with all of the Adelaide United supporters getting around. I know I had lots of friends. I think was like a Sunday afternoon in Adelaide. It looked marvellous.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it absolutely was. I'll tell you my story shortly, but you go ahead. Yes, middle of the afternoon it was played here in Adelaide.
Well, I hate to admit it was about 4 a.m. in the morning and I still watched it over here and maybe a few drinks deep. So there was a few celebrations when I saw that goal go in, and it was absolutely brilliant. It was also pretty much a sole goal, just chipping it over to himself basically and into the left bottom corner. It was incredible.
Yeah, it certainly was. Well, Ben's best this week, Soph, is Patrick Beach, who was the goalkeeper in that game out of Melbourne City, a youngster who we all just thought was going over for the experience. Matt Ryan, the captain, was absolutely expected to start and play every minute for the Socceroos. And for Tony Popovich, the boss of the Socceroos, to determine that Patrick Beach would go out and defend the goals and do such an incredible job on debut at that level was something really special. I mean, you think about the pitchforks that would have been out, Soph, if that had have backfired. So for Popovich to back his man and for Beach to back that up and produce what was a sterling performance, we don't know where the Socceroos are going to go from here. They've got a tough match against the United States on the weekend, and then, of course, they round out the group stage with Paraguay. But after that result, they're every chance of going through to the knockout stage, which would be quite incredible for the way Australia was rated. And if they do, it will be on the back of this young kid playing in the A-League who no one expected to play a minute, and he was, yes, as you said, Nestori Irakunda, one of the two incredible goals for the Socceroos. But Patrick Beach, for me, was the story to replace the captain on day one and just perform so admirably. So, yeah, so much exciting World Cup ahead of us, Soph. But there has been an incredible list of stories going on in golf here in Australia. The most obvious one is that the 2027, 2029 and 2030 Capital.com Australian Open venues have been determined. They're going to be on the Melbourne Sandbelt. 2027 will be at the Peninsula Kingswood Golf Club down there just outside of Frankston. What did you make of that announcement?
Well, I'm very excited for it. I don't want our Adelaide fans to get a bit nervous, by the way, because the Australian Open is still going to North Adelaide in 2028 for the men, and we're still guaranteed 6 Australian Opens across the men's and the women's between then and 2034. So don't fear, it's still coming to Adelaide. Peter didn't lie to us. But no, I'm very excited to see it at Peninsula Kingswood. I actually played it recently at the beginning of the year, and it's an incredible golf course. So the North course in particular is incredibly difficult, incredibly hard. You're expecting wind and firm greens. And I know for a fact, Ben, I will tell you a quick story, which probably listeners don't really want to hear, but I just got engaged the day before and my nails were disgusting. I mean, I had a weird flower art on them. I was so incredibly embarrassed to have this beautiful ring on my finger and the most horrid nails, Barbie like, you've ever seen. So I rushed off to get my nails done, and I had to literally get Darcy to get my bag, get my golf clothes, and get them to the first tee so I could quickly get changed. Because this nail artist got so nervous because I just told her I got engaged. She took an hour and 45 minutes to do my nails, which is just like unheard of. And so I had to run to the first tee, and I almost got a hole in one of my first ever shot because we started on about the seventh hole, I want to say. So I'm a big fan of the North Course at Peninsula Kingswood.
I'll tell you what, and I'm looking forward to some of the men playing the Australian Open there in 2 years' time who talk about how they were also late for their first tee because they were spent an hour and three quarters getting their nails done, getting the manicure. So what a story. Hey, I've just got to say one thing. Are you nervous now as a South Australian? We've got Royal Melbourne 2025, Kingston Heath 2026, Peninsula Kingswood 2027, and then we're going to North Adelaide in 2028. Gee, I'm terrified now that by comparison, this is going to be a bit of a wipeout. I mean, you think about men's professional golf, and Tyrrell Hatton's my best example. Now, Tyrrell, yeah, he's very, very vocal. He can be very, very critical of himself, but he can also be very, very critical of golf courses. He's been critical of the old course at St Andrews and Augusta National, for goodness sake. So men's professional golfers are never known to be particularly kind or offer praise easily. I'm very, very nervous about how North Adelaide will stack up now when compared to the quality of golf courses that Golf Australia is signing for the Men's Open.
I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see to see what North Adelaide comes out of. But look, I will say though, professional golfers tend to be the best naggers in the history of the world. They'll often blame the course before they start blaming themselves. So I wouldn't read too much into a professional golfer complaining about a golf course, Ben, because I mean, they all complain about everything, a bad bounce, anything that would come. Don't ever blame yourself for a bad shot.
Yeah, so that is just a watch for me. What sort of quality of architectural excellence will North Adelaide be able to generate with all of the limitations they've placed on themselves with the architect themselves? And I mean, you are very much aware of the discussion going on here, 585 trees, and everyone's up in arms about it, but the existing playing corridors are having to be used because it is only 585 trees. So that is a real watch for me about the quality of golf course North Adelaide is going to be. And the government will be able to jump up and down and say what it likes. The proof will be in the pudding, and there will be a lot of people who, if it's not brilliant, will be very, very quick in saying so. And that is just something we'll have to keep an eye on. In better news for South Australia, the South Australian Tourism Commission has announced that Live 2026 has brought in 118.6 million US dollars for Australia, and in particular, that is 97.1 million Australian dollars for the Adelaide economy. So if we've been talking about Live Golf for 4 years now, and just underlines once again, and I always think these figures are probably a little bit sketchy, but no one can deny that it has been quite incredible for Adelaide and South Australia, the influence that Live has had over the last 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that the Australian Open is now co-sanctioned with the PGA, I think Live really stamped Australia as where some of the best golf fans you ever see. We're deprived of world-class standard golf, and as soon as it hits here, everyone flocks to wherever it is in Australia. I mean, even New Zealanders were coming across for Live. I got an absolute shock when I went to the first ever Live tournament hosted down at Grange about how many people had travelled so far just to come and watch golf because they hadn't seen players like, at that point it wasn't John Rahm, but now it is. But the Bryson DeChambeaus, the Dustin Johnsons, they hadn't seen those players because going to America or going to the Europe is a massive trip for us. But 3 2 hours or 6 hours in the case of New Zealand to come down to Adelaide and watch golf. So I'm not surprised those were the figures. I mean, I had friends trying to get rooms with me coming from Sydney who'd left booking too late and how expensive it was to get anything close to the
Mm.
golf course. And I think it's incredible. And I know for a fact a lot of people who were coming were then staying on and heading out to the Barossa Valley or heading out to the McLaren Vale and actually experiencing South Australia for the first time.
The numbers don't correlate with visitors to other tier one clubs. There was a lot of evidence around that if those travel numbers are accurate, and I'm not trying to discredit them, but at the same time, it is curious to me that that didn't really correlate to a lot of people coming and playing golf, which generally is what you see when people are traveling for golf tournaments. They also play golf on the way through. So whether because there was the extra day with the 4-day tournament that Liv went to, that stopped people from teeing it up at those tier one courses. I guess those things will remain to be seen. But the one number that stood out to me, Soph, the greatest number of hotel rooms booked on Saturday night in Adelaide on record. So you would think that would have been an AFL final or maybe the test match, but the fact that that is a golf tournament that, yeah, like I said, 4 years ago wasn't even in existence. It's a wonderful story. It does come against the backdrop, Soph, of everything that is going on around Liv. The rumours continue to fly, and we are very, very clear that they are just rumours. That goes that PIF, who are getting out of Liv, this is the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund, have only funded 1/3 of what they need to fund to get through to the end of the year. So 200 million US is paid up. There's another 400 million shortfall. So that means that all of the remaining events do still hang on that knife edge as that rumour is founded. They've had some terrible stories as well. Phil Mickelson, of course, was kicked out of the Farms Golf Club in San Diego. One of their biggest Liv names, Phil Mickelson, over allegations of inappropriate contact with a young female staffer. So, I note that in this South Australian Tourism Commission drop, they talk about it going to Kooyonga in 2027 and North Adelaide in 2028. But everything continues to swirl around that, there's potential filing for bankruptcy. So, I mean, that nothing is clear to me that we are going to see Liv beyond this year. I'm still yet to see, as much as Scott O'Neill talks a good game, I'm yet to see any evidence that we should be hopeful that it's coming to Kooyonga in 2027.
Yeah, I'm struggling to see that it will still be around in 2027. I'm right there with you. The other thing that I'm completely worried about as well is as soon as they lose that funding, are they just going to lose players left, right, and centre because they don't have the funds to support them? So even if Liv is around in 2027, it's not going to be, I don't imagine it's going to be the same Liv that we're expecting to see. I don't think you're going to have the John Rahms and the Bryson DeChambeaus and all those big names that encourage our Australian golfers to go out and see. Because even Cam Smith, I mean, if he isn't getting the paycheck, I would imagine that he's wanting to jump back onto the PGA Tour instead and start competing against the world's best. Because in the end, those standards of golfers, the money means a lot, but competing against the world's best means even more, I think, for a lot of them.
If there's no Rahm, if there's no Bryson, let's say there's no Joaquin Neiman, no Cam Smith. Cam Smith, I'd like to think, would stick it out, but maybe no Tyrrell Hatton. Are Kooyonga and the South Australian government going to be satisfied that it comes to town next year? I think that would be a massive question to ask.
Yeah, if I was a Kooyonga member, I wouldn't be too impressed with my course being out of action for, let's say, 2 to 3 months at the least. And you're telling me that I'm not having the world's best there, I wouldn't be that happy. And it's the same, even if Cam Smith does keep it in, I mean, you can go and watch him at any of the Australian Opens because he's always there. He's always a standout there. So would I prefer to go watch him play Live, or would I prefer to go watch him play the Australian Open, which is now going to be co-sanctioned with the PGA and the DP World Tour? And I imagine a lot more better golfers will be coming down to play that Melbourne Sandbelt as well as potentially North Adelaide. And I'd prefer to see him there than I would at Kooyonga Golf Club playing against Live players.
A lot of those names that we're dropping are going to be in action at the US Open at Shinnecock Hills. It gets underway on Thursday night, our time. Before we focus in on that, Soph, I thought it was just worth touching on probably what is the happiest local story here in South Australia. And your golf club, Royal Adelaide, the club has a new captain, and after 134 years, for the first time ever, it's a woman who will wear the red jacket and take the reins of the club.
15 minutes, Ben. That is what it has taken you. We were 14 and a half minutes to mention that your wife, Sarah Chia, is going to be the first female captain ever at the Royal Adelaide Golf Club. I'm actually just shocked. I've been waiting for it. I've been checking my clock, and I'm thinking we're going Live, we're going the Aussie Open. We didn't even mention her as Ben's best. We went with soccer on a golf show. I was thinking, what is going on here? My partner gets a hole in one and he's first thing mentioned. We're going to have to wait this long to mention that your wife is the first female captain of Royal Adelaide.
There is one difference between your partner and my partner is that your partner would have insisted on it and my partner will be horrified that we got her inside the first 15 minutes. Just very quickly, Soph, reflect as she's a good friend of yours. Unfortunately, you're out of the country at the moment. I'm sure you would have loved to have been there for the ceremony where she was presented with the red jacket by the outgoing captain, Craig Ball. But what does it mean for the club and what does it mean for you as a young woman at Royal Adelaide to have a woman as captain of the club after all of this time?
Well, it's a massive thing. I mean, first off, you're right. Sarah's a great friend of mine. She's my foursomes partner. I absolutely love her, and super proud that she's got there. Though I'm not at all surprised. Sarah is the perfect fit, man or woman. She's the most deserving person to be captain in the upcoming 2 years. But it's huge for Royal Adelaide. I mean, Royal Adelaide's been starting to get there, but obviously, and it kind of has that stigma of being a bit, old fashioned and, women were associates only not a few years ago, but really a few years ago.
2017, that changed.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that changed and we became gender neutral. But really, I've seen a massive shift in Royal Adelaide over the past 10 years. I think when I first started playing, I was allowed to play on a Saturday in a small slot only because I was at school. Otherwise, women weren't allowed to play on Saturdays. And if you think that was what was happening 10, 15 years ago to now having our first female captain, it's huge. And I think it's going to have a massive influence on the club. It's going to show that we are progressing. And I think we have been progressing for many years. If you go down to Royal Adelaide now, if you look at our Sanderson Cup team, if you look at our Pike team, we have so many young girls competing, so many young girls that are welcome and feeling comfortable at our golf course. Our female membership base is only increasing. I think we have one of the best percentage of female golfers within Australia. It's really impressive. It's not quite at 50-50, but golf is not at 50-50, so it's going to take a while to get there. Women tend to come to the game a lot later than what men do, and that's just how it naturally progresses. With women, starting young families or women entering the workforce, and it is a big, long-consuming game, but I'm so impressed to see Sarah there. I can't wait to see what she does next. I think she's going to be excellent for Royal Adelaide and progress us even more into the future.
And the only thing I'll add to that, Soph, is she has done this on her own. So there's no suggestion for one iota that this has been pushed by, my agenda or that she's solely there on the basis of the fact that she's a woman and they were trying to promote a woman. This has absolutely been done on merit. She's been on that committee for 9 years. She's been on the board of Golf South Australia, Golf Australia, the Asia Pacific Confederation, and she knows Royal Adelaide back to front. She's not going to tip the place on its head. She will be very much steady as she goes, and she will lead for the entire club, not just for the women membership. But she's done a power of work in reaching this point, and I am very, very proud of what she has achieved and what she'll go on to do over the next couple of years. Let's move on, because if I talk about her anymore, she will be, potentially pulling the divorce papers out from under the pillow, Soph, and I really don't need that because I'm going to be pretty much a single parent as it is for the next 2 years. So let's move on go on, sorry.
And she's a lawyer, so you might only get out with your toothbrush, Ben.
An empty tube of toothpaste as well. So that's a very good point. Let's talk about the US Open. It gets underway, as I said, on Thursday. Shinnecock Hills, one of the world's great golf courses. It's on Long Island in New York. It's a 7,500-yard course. It'll play as a par 70. There are so many things we could talk about with the US Open, but you've got a train to catch, so we're going to keep this pretty short and punchy, Soph. Who is your most intriguing player as we head towards the opening tee time at about 5 p.m., so maybe a bit later than that, about 7, 8 p.m. on Thursday evening, Adelaide time?
Well, Ben, you just skipped completely past the golf course, which I love about you, because you do know I've got a train to pick. But I've got a few things that I have to say about it, because it gets into my most interesting player and most intriguing player. And I think the thing about Shinnecock and why I'm most excited about it is it's as close as American golf course gets to a linkside golf course. It's got limited trees, it plays fast and firm, there's heaps of undulation. It's really dependent on the wind, but the course routing is so impressive that as you turn through the hole, the wind direction changes for the hole, which means these players are going to have to hit low, they're going to have to hit high, they're going to have to hit cuts, they're going to have to hit draws. It's so based on ball striking and creativity. It's a course where I imagine the par threes are going to be really important. Those, grungy pars or even those bogey saves. I mean, if I go back to 2018, which is where Brooks Koepka won his
Yep.
second consecutive US Open there, if you go to hole 11, that short par three, they're hitting wedges or short irons, Ben. So you're thinking, okay, well, this is a birdie opportunity,
Yeah.
but absolutely not. It's got this little small surface to hit up onto. It's elevated. And I look at Brooks Koepka. In 2018, he went flying over the back. And instead of chipping it anywhere near the pin, because the landing zone was so small, he's actually chipped it back over to the green to the front bunker and then made up and down from the front bunker to make bogey. And that's
My
so
goodness.
much creativity and having to think about it. And that's what I expect we'll get from Shinnecock. And with that being said, I'm actually favouring the European golfers because they know how to play links courses. And they also, I don't know, there's something about European golfers and their ability just to nut out pars and to make up and downs. And I think because they've played links, their creativity of playing those bump and runs, not just playing the lob wedge, not just playing bomb and gouge. And I'm actually looking at my Norwegian golfer, Victor Hovland, as my most interesting golfer. Now, Victor
Yeah,
Hovland, about
you're
3 years ago,
probably staying in the next apartment block at the moment, are you? Just
I'm
chatted
hoping
to
to
his
see Victor.
saw his mum in the coffee shop.
But no, I will say, Victor, about 3 years ago, I was a massive fangirl for Victor. I thought he was going to be the next best thing. And then since then, he's an absolute nut job, Ben. Like, he's gone through
Yes.
so many swing changes, coach changes, and with that, his confidence levels have kind of dropped. And his season over the past 3 years has just been like an absolute roller coaster. If you're a Victor Hovland fan, you really don't know what you're about to get. But I gotta say, the Canadian Open, he gave me some glimpse of hope of some really good golf coming. And I know he didn't win, he finished T3rd, but it was really solid. And his final round in particular, the 5 under, sometimes it's not winning a tournament, which makes me think you're going to win the next tournament. It's actually that one good round where it looks like it's all just smooth sailing and it's all just kind of clicking together. And Victor Hovland, with all his nuttiness, knows his swing inside out and kind of feels like one of those players that is just going to grind out some brawly pars and have some birdies in between, but not really going to score anything higher than a bogey. And I think Victor Hovland's golf is trending in the right direction. And he's my most interesting player to watch out for. I don't think he's going to win it, but I do think he's going to be a top 10.
Yeah, I like that. Joaquin Niemann for me, Soph. So the Chilean.
Wonderboy.
Yeah. So one live career. He's won something like 80 million in earnings while on the live tour, but he's kind of been almost invisible outside of live. He can win national opens. He's won the Australian Open, of course, the Australian Golf Club. So I do feel like those tough testing golf courses should suit him, and that's obviously what we're going to see at Shinnecock Hills. But he has one top 10 in 27 major appearances. And, who knows where Liv's going from here. I just think it would be, he's 28 now, Joaquin Niemann, and he's just the sort of guy that I expect to see finally competing at this level. So he's just the one guy I really want to watch. Like you said with Victor Hovland, I don't know if he's going to win it, but I just really expect with the kind of recent form that he has displayed, and Live Korea wasn't an easy course like we've seen a lot with the live setups over the course of 2026. Shinnecock Hills is going to be exceedingly tough. And I do believe, well, I don't believe, but I do feel like we need to see something from Joaquin Niemann just to demonstrate that he's not a flat track bully. And that's been what's the accusation that's been at him. And we've had that comment about Minwoo Lee as well, who just never seems to really be able to fire in majors. Joaquin Niemann's the one that I'll be watching this week. Who's your best Australian hope?
Well, I kind of struggled with this one, but I'm going with my heart, Ben. I'm going Adam Scott. It's his 100th straight major. It's a feat that's only ever been achieved by Jack Nicklaus. It's incredible. The only thing that's got me a bit worried is he has played Shinnecock, and I think he'll be the only player on the field to have played it in 2004 as well as 2018,
Yes.
and he miscut in both of them. But I have been listening to his interviews, and he has been speaking about how much he loves Shinnecock. He's addressed the fact that he's miscut, and I think he's shot like 75, 78. They're absolute disasters and mans, but I know Adam Scott, he's approaching his 46th birthday. He's an older player. The fact that he's been able to be out there and be competing at this higher of a level for that long is just an incredible achievement. To avoid injury, to avoid all of that, to adapt to the change that has happened over those years. I mean, distance has really become a big thing, and he's gone to the gym, he's worked out, and he's got that distance out there. He's a bit of a grinder. I actually think Shinnecock really suits him. I was actually shocked when I heard that he'd missed the cut in 2004 and 2018, because I felt like this would be a course that would really, really suit him. He has had not the best season start, but he has had 8 top finishes, top 25s over his past 12 starts. I think for the Australians, he's probably our best hope. He's known to be dead straight. He's known to play quite conservatively when he needs to. If I look at Brooks Koepka in 2018, he hit a lot of driving irons off the tee. It's not necessarily that you have to get driver out there and hit it as far as possible. I think Adam Scott is a thinker. My only thing that worries me always about Adam Scott is his putting, but he assures me in the interviews that his putting is top notch at the moment. So I'm expecting to see some good things.
Lucas Herbert for me, Soph, another
Oh,
off
good
the
call.
Live Tour who has had a win this year. His first ever major was at Shinnecock Hills, and he turned up at that course knowing that Brooks Koepka had won the year before at Erin Hills and shot 16 under. And I think he just had it in his mind that you needed to shoot 4 or 5 under every day if you were going to compete and win the US Open. He promptly birdied the opening hole at Shinnecock Hills on the way to an opening day 13 over 83. So I think he's learnt a lot from that. I think he has a really good understanding of his game now, that grinding out those 6-footers for par are absolutely gold. You don't need to be knocking flags over. You're going to make some bogeys, and you just got to accept that and just make sure you don't turn them into doubles and triples. So Lucas Herbert is my Australian top pick. I don't know that I can be absolutely confident that we'll have an Australian winner here, but I just feel like if we took an Australian-only leaderboard, Lucas Herbert would probably be my pick. Having said that, I would love in his 100th straight major if it was Adam Scott, as you said. Having been through all of that, Soph, who do you think's going to be lifting the trophy on Sunday night?
Well, I was looking at my English boys, Ben. It was a tough call between Tommy Fleetwood and Matt Fitzpatrick, but I've had to go Matt Fitzpatrick. He's having an absolute sterling season. Here's another one of my nut jobs. Have you seen his yardage books? He
No.
dots down absolutely every single distance he's ever hit, all his up and downs, all his scrambles. He's got all his yardage books from about 10 years old all the way up, and it's absolutely incredible. He's going to have Alex Fitzpatrick, his brother, staying with him. It's going to be a family affair. I think that's something for the Fitzpatricks that is really special. The fact that he helped his brother get his PGA Tour card and watching him nutted out in the Zurich, for me, was actually really impressive, because it was beyond, a trophy, beyond the money. It was actually kickstarting your brother's career, really, and assisting in that matter. And I think that meant way more to Matt than anyone could ever imagine. You actually saw him start to falter a little bit, and Alex had to help him out. But the fact that he could still get it over the line and the emotion that rushed through him, I think having Alex there by his side, and Alex, showing up in the past few PGA events and top 10ing in all of these and showing up and saying, I actually deserve to be here. I think Matt's going to be extremely proud. He was T2 at the Canadian Open, a really impressive final round of 6 under. So for me, it's Matt Fitzpatrick. I think his game is trending just completely upwards. I think he knows how to nut out pars. He does it his own way. He's chipping cross-handed sometimes.
Yes.
You never really know what's going to happen. And I think for a US Open, you've got to avoid big numbers, but you also have to be, under that pressure, you have to be so persistent and so patient. And I think someone like Matt Fitzpatrick, who does things his own way, is a perfect fit for another US Open win.
Yeah, good call, Soph. Going to be hard to argue with. I'm going to go with Scotty Scheffler here, and not because he is obviously one of the favourites and one of the best players in the world. I'm going for him in spite of the fact that he has been well below his lofty standards in the last 2-3 months. His iron play, which has normally been by far and away the number one player in the world, he has really dropped off. And we actually saw quite a petulant, bratty, sort of moody performance from him at the Memorial Tournament a couple of weeks ago. I like the fact that he had the Canadian Open off. I like the fact that if he can just find his best on a place like Shinnecock Hills, where ball striking is going to be at an absolute premium. You know, his putting can waver a little bit, but at his best, he's the best ball striker in the field. If he can find his game and his emotional stability, both were missing a couple of weeks ago, but I just really believe that it's very, very difficult to go past those guys who are just proven performers at this level. I think the US Open will mean a lot to him. He obviously has, 4 major titles now, 2 Masters, an Open Championship. Does he have a PGA? I should have done all the maths on that. Anyway,
I'm pretty sure he's going for the Grand Slam in the US Open.
Scotty Scheffler is my US Open pick. Hey, let's just go around the grounds very quickly. We'll get to the Canadian Open very shortly, won by Bud Cauley at 17 under, as you said. He won by 2 from Matt Fitzpatrick. But we've got a couple of South Australians who are doing very well at the moment. Can you tell me what happened with Caitlin Pearce on the Epsom Tour playing the Firekeepers Casino Hotel Open?
Yeah, it's absolutely impressive from Caitlin Pearce. She's kind of hit the Epsom Tour this year and gone flames. She has finished in the top 5 of a -4, which is so impressive. She's now sitting T27 for her race for the LPGA card. She has to get into that top 15. T27, still a little bit off, but the way that her game is trending, I think she's going to be getting more starts in the Epsom Tour as well, which means it increases her chances to hit that top 15.
Yeah, well said. Crystal Blum, she was second last week at the Raffensbank Czech Ladies Challenge. She had a disappointing week this week. I think she was either T1 or T2 after the opening round, and then just had one of those days that got away from her and missed the cut in round 2. But on the LET Access Series, Crystal Blum really honing in on a victory and maybe getting that promotion up into the Ladies European Tour.
Yeah, incredible. I think it's actually her best finish in about 4 years. So I know she was particularly excited about this one. It's a final round -3 to finish 1 off the lead. I don't think she was expecting to be anywhere near it because the lead was sitting at 6 under after round 3 and it finished at 6 under. So I know that was incredibly impressive and incredibly proud moment for Crystal Blum. And I know, things happen and go off a miscut following that, but sometimes it's pretty hard to drop yourself from the high. So I expect good things in the coming weeks from Crystal.
The Dow Championship was on the LPGA Tour. It's the only teams event on the LPGA. It's a very light-hearted event, Soph, but great fun. Some interesting side notes. It's played in Midland, Michigan. It's a population of 45,000 people. So last week they were at Riviera in the heart of Los Angeles and whatever the population of LA is, and they go to a 45,000 population. And the crowds really flock to this event, which is very, very cool. What did you make of it?
Look, I think it's a perfect event for where it sits in the LPGA calendar. It's in between heaps of majors. It's obviously following the US Open, which is quite stressful and there's lots of pressure, and you can just see that the players feel so tense around that week, and they're coming into their next major in only about 2 to 3 weeks' time. So I think this sits kind of perfectly. It's almost like a rest week for them. They get to play with their buddies. They get to have a bit of fun. It's, best ball, which means, I can have my triple bogey and my partner might have a birdie and it doesn't even matter. It's the perfect kind of form of golf for me. I love best ball.
And me.
Yeah, ham and egging, I love when you hit your ball straight right and your partner hits it on the middle of the fairway and you turn to them and just go, "This is your hole.
Your
Don't
whole
worry
partner.
about it."
Yeah, the 3 favourite words in golf: your whole partner.
Your hole. But actually, it was the first LPGA win for both Gina Kim and Yana Wilson, which I think is really impressive. They had an 8 under final round in their best ball, and I think they finished about 17 under. That's going up the top of my head there, Hookie, and it's 7:30 in the morning.
Exactly
so
right.
Could be completely wrong.
Spot on.
Nailed it.
Yeah, on the number.
But I actually think it's quite interesting for them that it's both for them their first PGA win. I think they're quite young still. Well, actually, one of them's about 28. I think that's Gina. Yana is about 19. It's her day. It's her rookie year on the LPGA Tour, so it's a great one to get a win only in her first few starts.
The one thing I love about this, Soph, is it really that the players show a bit of personality. We would never see
Yeah.
this on the men's tour. They come up with little team names that are very, very creative. They make their own TikTok videos to advertise who they are. So Nelly Corder and Olivia Cowan called themselves Legally Blonde. There was a beautiful story last year. Gino Titicul and Ruining Yin, they called themselves Gin and Ronic, which I thought was very, very clever as well. Alison Lee and Lilia Vu made this incredible TikTok clip of they took famous photos from popular culture and remade them over the course of announcing their team together as well. So, yeah, look, you could make the argument that this is probably at odds with the way professional sport is supposed to be played, but I just reckon for the women and the women's tour, they do need to be prepared to show a bit of personality and come out of their shells a little bit and not just be men's tour light. I think it's really important that they carve their own niche, and they certainly did that with the Dow Championship this week. Canadian Open, Soph, any thoughts very quickly?
I actually love the Canadian Open. I love the RBC Canadian Open. It's such a fun week leading into the men's US Open. You often get a lot of players going out and playing it, which I find very, very interesting for me because often players like to take a bit of a rest week, but still, for some reason, the Canadian Open often gets a couple of those top names, some who potentially want a bit of practice leading into the US Open, a bit of competitive practice. It was won by Bod Corley, who held off Matt Fitzpatrick, who's already been mentioned. It's his first PGA win after making his debut in 2011, but I thought it was a bit of an interesting story. I didn't know this before I started looking a bit more into him, but he actually had a really serious car accident in 2018 where he fractured a leg, collapsed lung, and 6 ribs. And actually, it seems to me that he played most of his PGA Tour career before that accident, and it's taken him a bit of a while to get back around and to get back into playing competitively. I think the mental side of those kind of things, having such a major issue and major accident like that, would be really hard to overcome. So great for him to get his first PGA win, and it gets him a start in the US Open. It's all very exciting, Ben.
The International Series moved to Morocco, so this is an Asian Tour event with links to Live Golf. Had some weather issues, so they played in threes off of a 2-tee start. Worked pretty nicely for Jack Thompson. He bogeyed 3 of his first 5 holes, but birdied 5 of his last 12, so he had a really strong finish, Jack Thompson. Wade Ormsby kind of went the other way. He was not really in amongst the leaders, but he was certainly in around that sort of tee for 30 heading into the last round. He bogeyed 4 of his first 5 to finish 1 over for the tournament. So that was a really un-Wade-like finish for him. But a couple of nice performances in and amongst probably a little bit of disappointment for 2 of our top South Australians, Jack Thompson and Wade Ormsby. Elvis Smiley shot 7 under on the last day to finish at 14 under and got it into a tie for third. So that pretty much wraps us up. Can I just get one thing off my chest before we do? And I'm coming back home here.
I've seen it in the notes, and I'm just curious as to what this even means. You haven't given me any background, so yeah, hit us.
This is to my friends at the Mount Osmond Golf Club, who I love very much. I'm a past member there. I'm a big fan of the club, and I'm not going to name names. I'm just going to put this one on notice. When you're trying to do little advertorials via your Facebook page, go for it, by all means. But could we cut down on the use of AI? I am a little bit offended by the amount of AI that is being clearly used by whoever's doing the promotional stuff at Mount Osmond Golf Club. Can I just share with you what they wrote about trees at Mount Osmond Golf Club? Here we go. Quiet witnesses to countless rounds, competitions, conversations, and changing decades. Some stand bare, weathered and unmistakably beautiful, rooted deep in the story of Mount Osmond, watching the game unfold year after year. Have you ever heard more claptrap gobbledygook in your life than that? Yes, by all means, use a little bit of AI, but maybe just turn it back into language that we would all understand. Yes, it's a beautiful course, it's picturesque, but my God, the quiet witnesses to countless rounds, competitions, conversations, and changing decades. That was a little bit too thick for me. Mount Osmond, you're on notice. Fix it up.
Well, I find this quite funny. I'm about to hop on a train ride, and I'm about to go through all these beautiful fjords in Norway, and I'm actually going to be rereading that because it kind of fits the scenery that I'm about to be looking at, Ben.
Here's a job for you. Next week, come back with an AI, 50-word conversation on the train ride through the fjords in Norway, Soph. That'll be your job from here. Great to chat, mate. Thanks for getting yourself out of bed so early once again. Look forward to doing it all next week when we review the US Open.
Thanks so much, Hookie. See you later.
See you, Soph.
With the last putt sunk, that's a wrap on this golf edition of Hooked on Sport. Thanks for listening. Help us meet more golfers just like you by following us and leaving a review. We look forward to your company on the next golf edition of Hooked on Sport.